Hi, everybody. I wanted to talk today about an email that I recently received from a mom that I have coached in the past. And she had a great question. She was wondering what I thought about her daughter, giving her daughter, who is a 16-year-old, a certain amount of freedom. So here in Austin, Texas, we have Austin City Limits, which is a big music festival in our local park. It happens 2 weekends in October. It's a 3-day event for 2 weekends. Each weekend has 3 days. And it's tons of bands and music, and it's thousands and thousands of people of all ages. As you can imagine, at a big music festival, there's tons of alcohol, tons of drugs. And as I said, people of all ages go. And so a lot of teenagers, I think it almost here in Austin, I'm using this as an example, but it really is a bigger question about freedom, independence, trust, what your boundaries are as a parent, making good, positive decisions as a teenager. So a lot of parents here ask themselves, what is the amount of freedom that I should allow my child, my teenager, and at what age? And it's a tricky question because there's never, it would be really nice if raising teenagers, if there was one answer. Here's exactly what you do for age 15, 16, 17, and so on. It would be really nice, but it just doesn't work that way. So like in so much of parenting, I think it really comes down to your intuition and what your gut is telling you about what your child is ready for, what your child can handle. So as I was saying to this mom, it really does truly depend on your child, for the most part. We know that as teenagers, I love the book Dan Siegel wrote called Brainstorm Early. He really talks about the teenage brain and adolescence and the need for novelty, the need for new novel experiences, to push the boundaries, to test the limits, to seek independence, and sometimes to break the rules to do so. It's their job, so to speak, as adolescents to do that so that they can then leave the nest in a few years and become independent, successful adults. So our job as parents is to give them freedom and independence as they grow older. Each year, receiving more and more yeses from us rather than as many no's as they used to get when they were little. So going back to the music festival, as I said, it's there's a lot of illegal behavior going on. There's people drinking alcohol under the age of 21. There's people using recreational drugs. In that scene, as a teenager, I can imagine as you're walking around and you're looking at thousands and thousands of people that are having a good time, some of them drunk, some of them high, and it looks like that is normal, that it's accepted because nobody's getting into trouble, nobody's being arrested. From their point of view, it looks like it's normal, it's natural, this is what you do at a music festival. And they're seeing other teenagers in those states as well, under the influence. So I can see how it would be confusing for them. I can see them thinking, what's the big deal? So as a parent, parents are wondering, at what point do I let them go off on their own to see bands on their own? And in some cases, their parents are there with them and they're seeing one band, like they're seeing, let's say, a singer-songwriter, and their daughter or son is off seeing a rapper. So that would be the case in my family. So their parents are wondering, how much freedom do I give them? And so we were talking about the idea of first looking at your child specifically and noticing, what is the personality of my child? Is my child the child that is seeking more rebellion, is pushing the limits more, is breaking the rules important to them and something that they seek out? Do they find drugs and alcohol more intriguing than, let's say, one of your other children or other teens their age? So just noticing where their interests lie, where their past behaviors have been in terms of trust. Have they broken the boundaries and the rules in the past? And taking that into consideration. And then also their age, of course. With each year, there's more brain development, which means that as the frontal lobe is developing over adolescence and late adolescence, they're hopefully getting more and more impulse control. They're able to see consequences of their choices a little bit better. That takes time. So those things are things to consider. And so we talked about the idea of, looking at allowing her the freedom based on her personality and those two things that we just talked about. Her personality, her brain development, and then also negotiating with her, letting her be a part of the conversation about what it is that she would like. So if we're going to use this example of ACL and the music festival, what is it that she would think would be appropriate at her age? Let's say she's 16. How would she think that it would be appropriate for the day to go? That you just drop her off and you pick her up at 10 o'clock at night and she texts you a few times? What does she think would be a good idea in terms of the amount of freedom or independence? So that might be her idea. That might not be your idea. So if we're talking about this one, in this one particular case, this mom was not going to be at the music festival with her. But another mom, a mom of her friend that she was going with, was going to be there. So we talked about the idea of check-ins. And this, again, can be used in a wide variety of scenarios. But having her check in with that mom who's volunteering, her friend's mom who's going to be at the festival, having her check in, maybe it's every hour, maybe it's every 2 hours. They get to decide, is that check-in over the phone, is that check-in over text, or is it a face-to-face check-in? I tend to probably be a little bit more conservative maybe than some other parents. I would prefer a face-to-face check-in so that I can see what are the choices that they're making. Are they making good choices or not? I get to see her. And if, let's say that other mom was not there at the festival, then she could have a FaceTime check-in where she can kind of get a sense of how her daughter's doing, if her daughter has made any choices that aren't very wise, and then they can make a judgment call. If I think that you are making a decision to drink or to do drugs, I'm going to come pick you up immediately, and here's going to be our meeting point. So that she knows what to expect and what the boundaries are in a case like that. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. I think it's important to remind our teens, with each year that you get older, the more that you have your brain development, the more that you've had some life experience, the more that you've shown responsibility and trust, the more yeses you get, the more freedom and independence you get. And it's for your own benefit and also for mine, so that I can, trust that you are making wise choices and being safe and having fun at the same time. So all things to consider. I know as a parent, a lot of times I wish the answer was black and white. But again, it's really about your intuition and trusting. If your daughter, let's say, is at this music festival and you had a phone call with her and something in your gut tells you this doesn't feel right, then I would listen to that and I would act on that. Because I really don't think that your gut steers you wrong in the majority of the cases. So hopefully this has helped you to kind of give some thought to the amount of freedom and independence you want to give your teen at whatever age she is right now, knowing that she needs that to be successful in her own growth towards becoming an adult. So sometimes that means that we have to manage our own anxiety about giving her more freedom and trusting that we've instilled in her enough know-how to respond to certain situations. We've talked through situations. Okay, tell me what you would do if this happened. Tell me if you were in the middle of a crowd of people in front of a band and you felt unsafe. What would you do? Let's say that your friend is there and she wants to get drunk. What would your response be? What would you say? What would you do? And give her some ideas about, that some people might not agree with this, but I really don't mind little white lies where, your daughter could say, you know what, my mom and dad, sometimes they randomly drug test me or, use a breathalyzer or whatever, that they're checking to see if I'm using anything or not. And so that's why I'm not going to do anything. So that might not be true in your family, but it's a way for her to save face and to get out of doing something that she doesn't want to do and saving face with her friends. Or she can say, my mom and dad would freak out. I would be grounded forever. I can't do it. Or, I play field hockey, and field hockey is super important to me, and I just don't want to mess up my chances of being on the team or getting that scholarship that I want to get. So helping her to kind of come up with responses so that she can be able to say no to something that she would like to say no to. So hopefully some of these ideas have given you some food for thought, maybe even prompted ways that you can talk with her and bring this up before she goes out into the world and has an event such as this, where she's going to have that freedom and independence. So hopefully this helps. Good luck, everybody.